started. I'm Charlie Zelli, and I welcome you to the Corridor Management Committee meeting for the Metro Blue Line extension. Why don't we go around the room and introduce ourselves? We have some new faces and some seasoned faces like us. So I'm Charlie Zelli, and I'm chair of the Met Council, but also chair of this committee.
Hi everybody, my name is Yudu, she, her pronouns. I'm here on behalf of Councilmember Ellison. He couldn't be here today, but he's still, this project remains a priority for our office and very committed to the execution of anti-displacement work. So thank you so much. I'll pass on to Dan.
And I'm Dan Dorr, and I'm the co-chair of the Business Advisory Committee. I am with Elam Lutheran Church in Robbinsdale.
Good afternoon. I'm Leslie Kinderis, the General Manager of Metro Transit.
Good afternoon, Commissioner Charles Rucker, Minneapolis Park Board.
Good afternoon, Andrea Young, Blue Line Coalition.
Julie Deschler, City of Crystal.
Therese Kaiser, City of Crystal.
Christian Evans, here on behalf of Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Fry.
Candy Bacon, Blue Line, Micah.
My name is Reese Berthoff. I'm the city manager for New Hope, and I'm here for Mayor John Elder.
Anjali Cameron, Met Council.
Reva Chambliss, Met Council Vice Chair, serving District 2.
Great. Well, again, thanks for coming. We just a couple of housekeeping issues. The mics that are at the table here are live mics, so and we are streaming publicly, so anything you say will be transmitted. And for those that are watching us from away, you can always find today's presentation in our website. The project website is bluelineext.org. And those that are also watching us virtually want to make any comments or questions, just email them to Nkongo Zigulu. That's, his name will be on the website. And until Friday the 21st, those comments will be part of the record. We've been also joined by Aaron. Do you introduce yourself?
Hi, thank you, Chair. Yeah, Aaron Wagner, Robbinsdale City Council, for representing Ward 4.
Thank you for joining us. So today we're going to get updates. We're not making any votes or decisions, but it really has been a process going through a number of issues: environmental, design, schedule. Then we'll talk about some of how we are engaging with various members of the public, stakeholders. I think first I just want to acknowledge that we have our new project director, Alicia Vaps, in the room, and then also a new station facilities lead, Anna Beth Gunderson. And Nick, are you? Yeah,
Chair, members, I'm excited to introduce our new staff today. Alicia started on Monday this week, and so a little bit of background about Alicia. I think we announced at the February CMC that she had accepted the position, but she has officially started. We didn't allow her to start until the Gold Line was open. She was the similar job, the project director for the Gold Line BRT, which is also a New Starts project that opened on March 22nd. Alicia, if you've been involved in this project for a long time, she worked on this project in what we call Phase 1.0 on the old alignment, leading the station design. She's also worked on the Orange Line BRT and Central Corridor Green Line, worked on that project too. And so she brings a wealth of knowledge in light rail, being a project director, experience working with the community. And so it's very excited. I'm sort of biased that I'm excited because I get to give up my role as interim project director. It's great timing. And we welcome Alicia, and she will be working with you in the community as project director and leading this project with the rest of the team. And then Anna Beth Gunderson started right after the last CMC, so we want to introduce her. She's leading our station and facilities design. Station design is very important for the communities, and she'll be working with the communities on that phase of the project and leading the design of each of the stations. Super important element, and she brings over 8 years of design experience to the project. First light rail project for her, but will fit right into the project and the team. So welcome both of them, and they're ones that you will be seeing a lot at CMC and in the community and with your staffs at the city, the county, as we continue to develop this project.
Great, thanks, Nick. And welcome, Alicia and Anna. And we had a really amazing Gold Line opening, and those buses are running, and people are actually riding, so this is good news. We have minutes that were sent out from our last meeting, which was held on February 13th, believe it or not. And if there's any edits or corrections, please let us know. Otherwise, I'd entertain a motion and a second to approve the minutes.
I move that we approve the minutes of the
Thank-
February 13th meeting.
Lovely, thank you.
Second.
Lovely, thank you. Julie, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, those minutes are approved. Unfortunately, Jonathan Hansen cannot be here to give a report on the CAC, but Pastor Dan is here to give a report on the DAC, and he offered to give a report on the CAC because he'd just make it up, but
Yes.
I said that wasn't necessary.
Right thing to do would be to share our report. Thank you, Chair and board members. I would say that much of the conversation that occurred at the Business Advisory Committee the day before yesterday was around the support that organizations and businesses are receiving through the anti-displacement efforts, and the concern about federal funding, and would that put that in jeopardy? And that's where the concerns were.
Yeah,
Thanks.
legitimate, thank you. Any questions, thoughts? Well, great, thank you, Dan. I know we've had meetings of the anti-displacement group, Anti-Displacement Community Prosperity Board, let me get that right. And Ricardo, are you here to give us a kind of a update?
Yeah, thank you. I'm curious if y'all got the handout for this part of the meeting by any chance? Y'all did? Okay. All right. Can I actually?
Like this, right?
Oh, is that, great. It's the same one I got. All right, well, thank you so much, everyone. My name is Ricardo Perez. I use he, him pronouns. I work for the Alliance Staffing Blue Line Coalition, currently chair of the Anti-Displacement Community Prosperity Board. So on your package, I guess, like, first of all, I just want to maybe say and acknowledge, like, the great work of the community-based organizations, neighborhood associations who continue to carry this work. So people like Candy, like Andrea, like a lot of the Blue Line Coalition and other folks, have been meeting regularly to deliver this information to you. So we're working really hard to speed up our process and match the speed at in which the project is already at, right? We need to catch up with it. And then to maybe even resonate to what you were saying, Dan, yes, the funding for the project is a concern for everyone right now. But for this initiative, we do know that regardless of the project, the investments, the policies that we're pursuing are needed nonetheless, right? So on the first page here, on the back of the cover, you'll find that we have, as I might have mentioned to you all beforehand, identified our grant-making priority areas. So the first one that you'll see in there, the orange circle, is for land acquisition, and as we move to the right, we see housing stability, small business stability, and workforce. The idea here is that we cannot reach stability, we cannot get from surviving to thriving if we only allocate dollars for one strategy. So this approach is targeting multiple issues, and also we're looking at the different moments of the project when we're prioritizing these buckets, right? So right now it's pre-development, before construction, and again, that's our North Star, something like these moments that we're all kind of like going through. If you want to reference what activities can be funded by the dollars we were able to help secure, you can visit the legislative language that I'm hoping can be reflected on the notes after the meeting. But these are the buckets, right? And then next one here, can you believe it? It's almost been a year since the board got funded, and we're still not there yet, right? Even though we're trying to move really, really fast. So the timeline that you see in front of you, it's a projection on when we expect for the RFPs to go public. So in all sincerity, I would say that we have been meeting a lot. We have determined the priorities. We've been kind of like helping get everything going, but the communication side of things still lacking and still kind of like trying to catch up with us, right? So we have asked Hennepin County to please do allocate resources and a strategy for us to have a communication arm to the work that we're doing. It's going to be really hard to let people know this is happening, recruiting board members, getting the money out the door if people don't know that this is happening, right? So I know, as you think about your own constituents, how are they, you know, like what you were asking, what's the plan to tell people what we're doing here? And we want to make sure that before we start sharing, we have everything defined and ready to go. So that's what we're doing, right? All right. So next page, this is perhaps just like a summary of the discussions that we had on housing stability. We're currently trying to, the bucket for housing stability is 2.5 million. Again, this is without the needed match to unlock those dollars. And then we are trying to prioritize keeping folks in their homes, eviction prevention, legal support, repairs, because we know that this is what chronically and systemically is impacting those folks most vulnerable to displacement. We have also decided that rather than the board administering individual requests for funding from individuals, that we will pursue funding intermediaries that could help us distribute funding accordingly. And just so you know, your cities or governments can apply with a community-based co-applicant. So that's kind of like, you know, the update as we're looking at how is this housing stability dollars gonna go out the door. And then lastly here, on the last page, just to kind of like give you a taste on when we say community-led, we do see it through and through, right? So we're actually currently recruiting for community member or experts to be part of the RFP review panels. So if you know someone in your city, in the place where you congregate or whatever, any residents, businesses, whomever, we need a robust body of review panelists from community that will help us make decisions on what is going to get funded, right? So and then maybe just to add something you might not see here, we continue, and because I do hope you can help us, we continue to recruit board members, right? There are gaps in representation currently. We need more business owners to join the board. And then, so if you know someone, you can reach out to Eric Gustafson, who I don't believe is here today, but that's his email there, and then he can help you get you what you need. So while I might not have all the answers, I could address some of your questions if you have any. So do you have anything?
Any questions for Carla? Yeah.
What, on the map of Hennepin County, what do the colors mean?
Good question. The blue block on top says renter occupied housing by federally identified race and ethnicity. So I'm gonna go ahead and assume that the darker the color on the map, the more renter occupied housing by different races other than white, perhaps.
Oh,
But I couldn't be sure though. Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, no, good point though. I'll make sure that they describe what that is.
Maybe we'll get a scale as to what that, yeah, that'd be great. But I think that's a good assumption. what you just said.
Yep.
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you for that report, Ricardo,
Yeah.
and, showing that this is a corridor-wide effort.
Yep.
Glad to see that there's opportunities for continued involvement based on board recruitment. And in terms of the striving to thriving goal of the coalition, to me, that's an aspect of community readiness, and not just readiness, but community empowerment, and doing that early and throughout the process. You stated that regardless of the steps that happen with the implementation of the Blue Line extension, this is needed. Have you thought about how to incorporate that, or can you elaborate? Is that working with the county and these intermediary organizations?
Sure. Yeah, no, great point. And absolutely, right? So on the surface level, this is about a train, right? But as the cover here says, it's really about the people, right? So through and through, since I started doing the work with Blue Line Coalition, like developing and expanding the capacity of communities impacted by this has been a central element of our efforts, right? Because as you know, like I know Carly's out there in the crowd, Brandon's out there in the room too. But as we've come to engagement opportunities with communities, we've realized how a lot of these community members have never been asked, what would you like to see as a result of this investment, So as communities starting to imagine what this better version of the neighborhoods or communities could be, they're starting to become more active in participating in those processes, right? But you're absolutely right. Our community-based organizations are very, we need investment, we need funding to keep doing this work. And for example, with the moments of the project where public commenting is needed, you can take a glimpse of who is more actively participating and who is not, right? So it is a responsibility, right, to move that needle, but we believe that with, again, substantial funding, it can happen. So as you know, in the board, we have government agencies, nonprofit, community, business, and philanthropy too, right? So our goal is to try to get funding not only for the activities, but to help us continue to organize, right? Because that is very much what's missing. And we see that investment in expanding our capacity as an investment to the project and the region in general, right? Because our community members will be able to advocate more for these investments that we need versus not participating at all. So yes, we are asking the county, philanthropy, and everyone to help us fund this idea that leads to those outcomes of empowering those most vulnerable, for sure. Yeah.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any other questions? Well, Ricardo, thanks. I know this is taking time, and it's good to see the schedule. I really appreciate, and we're thankful to Hennepin County who's helping support it administratively, but it just shows in these times, getting back to what Dan George says, we can't lose sight of the goals, and it's really critical work, so I appreciate your volunteer time and effort.
And if you want to come and check out one of our board meetings, they are open to the public, so please do come and check it out. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's march into learning more about where we are with the project. We're first going to hear from Kelsey Young, who is our environmental manager, and going to talk about the environmental process. Welcome, Kelsey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, committee members. For this month's environmental update, wanted to share some updates about our continued development of the supplemental final environmental impact statement. Since we last met, we've continued to work with the Federal Transit Administration to advance reviews of the supplemental final environmental impact statement document. The document is now undergoing legal review at FTA at the Region 5 level. We are continue to work closely with them to monitor federal policy updates, and in accordance with direction that they've given to us, we've made some updates to the structure and language within the supplemental final environmental impact statement to align with changes in executive orders and other direction that the Federal Transit Administration is giving to us. An important thing to note along with that is that the mitigation strategies, those strategies that we've been talking about here in this space and in our outreach and our other other conversations with community around those strategies to address the negative impacts of the project. Those are still proposed as part of our project. Nothing about that has changed. Nothing about that has changed in terms of those strategies and mitigations are still presented in the supplemental final environmental impact statement. As we've noted in past meetings here, that those measures within the project are still, subject to FTA approval, which is still ongoing, but so far we haven't heard particular, concerns or issues with those. So those are still the strategies to address impacts. Those are still on the table and presented in the supplemental final environmental impact statement. Our goals here are to continue to seek the federal funding, and so these are the requirements of the FTA in order for us to continue to advance our environmental review work here. And again, just to reiterate that all of these things that we've been talking about with community and our project partners, as a project team, we are still very much committed to following through on those measures, pending FTA's approval. And we are excited to, move ahead into that implementation phase as we look ahead. So we are still tracking on the publication of the supplemental final environmental impact statement in early summer. There will be a comment period followed by anticipating an amended record of decision in August 2025. Again, all of this pending further coordination with the Federal Transit Administration. But that amended record of decision step is what that milestone would allow the project to move forward into final design and planning for construction. So we're excited that the conclusion of our National Environmental Policy Act process is we're down to the last few steps here, and we'll look to continue to share updates about what we hear from the Federal Transit Administration in the coming months, and as we make our way towards publication.
Great, thanks. Any questions for Kelsey?
Thank you. No questions, but I guess we just still want to make sure that the community is, because they're looking for the environmental piece, and we know that it's been removed. So just making sure that the mitigation is still done properly.
Yes, Chair, committee members, that's the key point, is that those strategies that we've been talking about with community to address impacts of the project, that list of strategies, including parking, business support during construction, community character mitigation, those strategies are still, within the project and proposed as part of the project. Again, subject to FTA approval, but still very much part of the project.
So we've done our work, and we know what work we have ahead of us. Is the ball in the FTA's court? We're going to wait to hear from them.
Mr. Chair, yes. We are in regular communication with the Federal Transit Administration, and yes, at this moment, the ball is in their court, so to speak, as staff continue to review the document and help us navigate these next steps to get approval to publish this supplemental final environmental impact statement that concludes our environmental review, our understanding of the impacts, and then comment period, and then seek to conclude that process with the amended record of decision.
Right, great. Anything else? Anybody?
I have a question.
Go ahead, sure, go ahead, Julie.
I'm kind of not new to this, but I'm kind of new in this time frame.
Yeah.
But I guess my question is, and this is going to be kind of a very simple analogy, but are we positive that you're getting the money to do this? The reason I ask is because, generally at Christmas time, my mom sends me a big fat Christmas check, right? I don't know if she's going to send it, but she generally does. But until I actually get it, I don't go to the store and start shopping like crazy on the assumption that I'm going to get this check. And so my concern for our community and the taxpayers, in the area is, are we spending hundreds of millions of dollars planning this just to find out in 6 months that federal funding isn't coming through, and I don't want to say wasted, but are we being responsible with spending money when we don't know if the money's gonna enter the bank to finish it? That's what I have to answer to the residents in Crystal.
I think that's a really fair question, and I think that what the project team and the project decision board, which is really Hennepin County and Met Council policymakers, have really decided that given the rate of spending, which is not insignificant, but it is not the level of spending that would happen if we're at a point of a record of decision and actual right-of-way being purchased, construction kind of coming up, much more significant. So, so I think there would certainly be a need to understand, is mom writing the check, or is Uncle Harry, whoever it is, we would have to have some better assurance. But at this level, I think we've decided to keep this project momentum
on track.
It is worth this investment, and quite frankly, the great beneficence of Hennepin County's its own transit sales tax is at least funding that, and appreciate that. But at some point, we will have to know or have some greater clarity on that question, and I think that's a very legitimate question.
Okay, thank you.
Any other, I just answered for the group, but if anybody wants to add to that, I'm happy to hear that.
Sure, I'll just,
Yeah, go ahead.
just add that, remember we had phase 1.0 of the Blue Line extension, we had a delay, but that didn't stop us from thinking about our plans and moving forward in ways that we could. So I think we'll continue to respond in that manner, and also that this is a regional-wide project that has taken many, many years and decades to get to this point. So if we think of also, the long run, that also helps us to plan moving forward.
It's been a long road. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other thoughts, questions? All right, Kelsey, thank you so much. Appreciate it. I think we're also now going to get an update on the design from Ryan Krosner, our Assistant Project Director of Design and Engineering. Welcome, Ryan.
Thank you. First, advance this slide. So I'm going to give an update on where we are with 60% design in the cities of Brooklyn Park and Crystal. We will come back later this year to update on Robbinsdale and City of Minneapolis. We are staggering our delivery of these documents to staff, both the city and the county, as we've designed our schedule for delivering this project. So a little bit about 60% design. This is where we get into much more detail with our design plans. We actually cut them in books, 11 by 17 paper. They're all black and white. There's a ton of detail. Don't worry, this is the last time you'll see this in this presentation. We'll have a bunch of renderings to show. 13 different disciplines involved in this project, all done by volume. We will continue to do roll plots that are more realistic in color. That is much more easier to consume by the layperson. We don't expect you to read all these detailed drawings, but they will show the same level of detail and design. Obviously, we're at 60%. There's a lot more design that's involved. You'll see here some placekeepers for station architecture, some bridge aesthetics also have a lot more work to do. So just know there's a lot more detailed design to do. And we'll move forward here. So here's that layout of the 60% design package delivery. Brooklyn Park is first in May, Crystal in June, then Robbinsdale and Minneapolis in July. On the right side there are other design packages that we're working on. There's 2 park and ride sites, parking structures. There's an operation and maintenance facility in Brooklyn Park, and a landscape package at the end. So we'll start up in Brooklyn Park at the north end and work our way south through Crystal. Here's the Oak Grove station. In the middle, there's the parking structure. Surrounding that is potential future development. So that's not things we will build with the project, but working closely with city staff to develop the exact right location for that parking structure. That's not quite set yet. You can see the station in front of those buildings, 3 gray roofs. Again, those are just kind of sort of placeholder massing for those station designs. Here's a plan view of that same scenario. The station in yellow. Off to the upper right on this slide, it's off the screen, but that's where our operation and maintenance facility will be designed and housed. So it's at the very end of the alignment in this scenario. That's unlike the blue line where the Franklin facility is kind of just south of downtown. It's midline. This one is at the terminus of the project. Here's a quick look at the architecture of that proposed parking structure. Glass, it's very open, very well lit, lots of cameras, a lot of transparency to see people coming and going, and then some landscaping between it and the station. So the station is just off the page here on the right side. Here's an example of a station along West Broadway in Brooklyn Park. So we have 3 stations that are very similar, 93rd, 85th, and Botno Boulevard. Brooklyn Park Boulevard. So here we have light rails running in the middle of the 2 lanes of traffic. There's actually more than 2 lanes, but this eastbound, northbound, and southbound lanes. The station is a center platform, so it means the trains arrive on either side of one platform in this case. This is a very typical intersection, and then on the south end or the left side of the platform, that's an unsignalized crossing, so there's a little bit of a channelization of the pedestrians. If you've ridden the Green Line in St. Paul, you're used to those channelized, unsignalized intersections. In this case, this is serving North Hennepin Community College, and then the Hennepin County Library is on the right. So this is a good example of the look and feel of what that new station area will look like. So here it is in 3 dimensions from the air. We're floating above the library here looking southwest. The college is on the left, and then there's some local retail that exists. Here's a street view. You can start to begin to feel the scale of what those stations will look like in the middle of the road. The college is off to the right. 63rd Avenue Station in Brooklyn Park. This is a site where there's an existing Metro Transit park and ride. It's a structure. It's been mothballed for several years, so we'll reactivate that with the project. Again, the station is in the middle of the traffic lanes. That's a center platform. The main axis is at the corner of the park and ride crossing at grade along 63rd to the center of Botno Boulevard here. There is a secondary means of access with elevators and stairs. That's the kind of L-shaped orange line on the right side of the plan there. Is an aerial view. You can see the basic configurations there. Street view, so we're looking northwest here. The park and ride structure is on the left, and that's that main at-grade access to the station. Okay, moving on to Crystal. North is to the right on the drawings you'll see here, the plan views. So Bass Lake Road and County Road 81, there's a new interchange being built with the project. So County Road 81 will go over Bass Lake Road. This station is nestled between the interchange bridges on the south side of Bass Lake Road. You can see the platform there in yellow. This area has a lot of connectivity with trails and regional trails and future regional trails. So that green line is the Crystal Lake Regional Trail. The dashed is where it is today on the east side of Botno. The solid green line is a proposal to reroute that slightly. So to have good access to the south end of the platform, you'll actually go underneath bridges to get to the platform. So no need to cross vehicle lanes on the south side of the platform. We'll see that in 3 dimensions here in a second. North of Bass Lake Road, we're proposing to relocate the trail along Brunswick and Colorado. It serves a couple of things there. It's a safer connection based on the crossings near Botno, And it brings that trail closer to the residents while still providing a direct access for that real regional trail user. There's also a proposed regional trail in purple going through Becker Park on the top part of that slide. We're not building that trail, but we are going to accommodate that in our design. So this is the zoom in plan. Right is still north. North is to the right. We have a small park and ride lot here, and we'll reconfigure the local roadways slightly. Something is of considerations, being in a bridge situation, we want to make sure that the train operators have good sight lines to crossings. So we're studying how that southern crossing will work with bicycles, pedestrians. The city also asked for law enforcement to be able to drive through this crossing. So that's what you see in those two thin black lines is a squad car being able to make those turns. We still want to redirect pedestrians and bicyclists so they don't have a straight shot across the tracks. We feel this is coming close to a good compromise to provide safety and allow that law enforcement activity. Okay, we got an animation now. So we're on the west side. We're walking towards the south end of the platform. We'll go underneath those bridges. This is the crossing where the user will not have to cross any vehicle lanes to get to the station. There's a Three Rivers kiosk, so we're working closely with Three Rivers Park District as well, according to our design work. We start to get the sense of the spatial feel and how the transit user or bicyclist will access through and across the tracks. Again, it's a center platform with trains on either side. So we have a few more stills, similar views, but you begin to see the building blocks of the design that will develop here this year. There's lots of bridge surfaces to articulate. This is that southern crossing again. The rendering is not quite up to date with that more of a rigid right turns that I showed you earlier. We're also very cognizant of the nighttime conditions and the darker conditions, so we started our lighting studies. So here's just a quick example of what will be further developed. This is standing on Bass Lake Road looking south. So as you cross Bass Lake Road looking towards the station, this is your spatial look here. That was a quick review of all the work we've been working on, 60%. Like I mentioned, we will be coming back with Robbinsdale and Minneapolis later this year, adding much more detail as we approach, the 90% design levels.
Excellent, thank you, Ryan. Any questions for Ryan? Go ahead, Julie.
You know, the color of the bridge and stuff, it looks so nice in the video, but you know what scares me to death is graffiti. I mean, I go crazy when I see litter, but if I see litter and graffiti, I mean, I'll just want to hang myself.
So a couple of strategies there. One strategy is keeping people away from the structure. So there will be some areas where we will design the surface that is not easy to get to.
Okay.
We're looking at how fencing might work in there, as still making it a warm, inviting place, but making that balance between where people can get to and where people can't. The other strategy is using similar colors of paint.
Right.
So for our maintenance folks, be it the county, the Met Council, the cities, to have a limited number of paint colors so they can easily paint over graffiti.
I got a question.
Yeah.
Tell me about the rocks.
The rocks.
The rocks.
Chair members, I'm going to back up. So this is still a work in progress. Actually, can you go to the animation? So we're looking at doing a varying texture to the ground surface. Obviously, the trains will have its ballast. That's a smaller rock. But using larger rocks and looking at how we can use the ground surface to direct people where they should go and where they shouldn't be. So keep going a little bit more. You can see this is 5% design. So this is just an idea at this point, so we're still developing that. You can see as soon as the camera turns, you can start to see, so right there. So this is that's okay, that's fine. It's an idea at this point that we're working through.
Do you like the rocks or no?
They're
You're worried
all right.
about like a rock fight instead of a
I
snowmobile
think
fight
more
or what?
colorful. Little pop of color in there.
Yeah.
but Yeah, no.
Question for you, if I
Go
could. Are the larger rocks what you were referring to with the layout to kind of minimize people moving around in areas where they might leave graffiti or kind of steering foot traffic away from certain parts of the area?
Chair, members, yes, exactly.
Thanks.
It's like the city of Crystal, are we going to be able to weigh in on what's the station going to look like? Other than, I mean, I see the basic design, but is there going to be any art there or play structures to keep kids entertained, anything like that? Is the city going to have a say in, okay, when does that happen?
So, Chair, members, so we are working on developing our cultural placekeeping process, which will kick off here in a month or two.
Okay.
That's a way to engage with community, which will end up informing what the stations look like and colors, textures, all sorts of other elements. So
And you're
absolutely.
calling that the cultural, what'd you say?
Placekeeping.
Placekeeping? And so you reach out to the city then, and then it's our responsibility to talk to our community, or?
We've been working directly with city staff, and we'll be out in the public doing public engagement. There's
Okay.
actually cultural place and design groups set up per city, so city residents, city staff will be part of that process. They'll be embedded in the process.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
And then the other thing I wanted to mention, since you mentioned something like a play structure, is to also work with Three Rivers Park District about, Ryan mentioned some of the trail redesign, and so thinking about how you might incorporate some existing park area, if you're thinking about how we might look at station as it fits into the larger regional trail systems and parks, and then also how it fits into the Crystal community.
Thank you.
And also, I'd be happy to work with you both on that as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great, thank you, council member. Any other questions, thoughts? All right, Ryan, thank you so much. We look forward to the next 60% piece with Robbinsdale and Minneapolis. Now we're going to hear from Shaheen Jafari, did I get that close? Who is our Deputy Project Director, but also Hennepin County's Assistant Director of Public Works. Welcome. And you're going to talk a little bit about the schedule, right?
Yes, thank you,
Right.
Chair and members. Let's go here this. Thank you. So as we shared some key project progress updates, we wanted to give a refresher of our 2025 schedule and our look ahead. The schedule is very much what was shared back in February as to where we hope to be throughout this year. I think as we talk about where we're at, and you heard Kelsey and Ryan speak to the progress with environmental and engineering, I think it's important to highlight here that this summer is going to be quite a busy period. We've got quite a bit of key deliverables that are coming up, whether it's environmental with the supplemental final environmental impact statement being published, and the 60% design, and with that getting rolled out for reviews by each city and our corridor partners throughout later the spring and then into summer. Alongside that, so with design, we hope to this summer also then begin transitioning from 60% into 90%, and of course with a lot of the anti-displacement activities that are ongoing and the cultural peacekeeping coordination that's going to be ramping up here. We hope to integrate that into our post 60% and 90% design as well. And then alongside engineering and environmental, we of course have all of the FTA activities that we've got going. So this summer, we're also planning to share an updated cost schedule ridership estimates with this committee. So that's planned for July. And that update will be reflecting all the work that will have been done as a part of our 60% design development, as well as the refinements and changes that we had to the project post municipal consent and as a result of the municipal consent coordination efforts. So that's a key update that we hope to share here at the next CMC, which will then also fit into our FTA coordination efforts as well as we work to prepare the ratings application submittal, work for that, which is also planned for later this summer. That ratings application submittal will allow us to begin receiving FTA feedback on project funding and where they see this project in competition with other projects. The other item, of course, public engagement is going to continue, and I know Nakongo here will be providing a progress update of what we've done to this point and then what's coming up for the rest of the year as well. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions on schedule.
Any questions of Shaheen? All right, it's good to keep that schedule in front of us. Yeah. All right, thanks, Shaheen.
Thank you.
Now we're going to hear from Nakongo on our engagement activities.
Chair, committee members, thank you for allowing us to be in front of you this afternoon to provide a status update on our engagement efforts. Key engagement principles and commitments guiding our efforts build on previous robust community engagement, tailoring engagement practices to meet the needs of the community, ensuring communities are fully represented in engagement efforts, and using community goals and priorities and criteria for growth to inform decision-making. On this slide here, we're showing our matrix. And as you recall, we kicked off the route modification process around August of 2020. And our engagement work has continued to collaborate with various communities to ensure that we're informing, consulting, and involving communities along the entire corridor. We're showing over 900 events that have resulted in over 41,000 points of contact with the public. This does not include the one-on-one activities and coordination happening with impacted property owners. We have been carrying these efforts all along as we get into the route modification process of looking at various route options, bringing that input, and advising our project team on what's best to advance in the design as we continue to collaborate with our community members. And carrying these efforts as we started to prepare the supplemental draft environmental impact statement that was published last year, looking at the various impacts that the project would have on the alignment, on the communities along the alignment. And again, our work is going to continue, and we continued through municipal consent, through that public process, through municipal consent, continuing to collect input and collaborate with our communities through the process. And as we advance into 60% design, continued collaboration with various community members on key design elements, and also looking forward as we start getting to the most impactful activities, the construction, and how we start to get our communities ready for that work. So overall here, we're looking at 80,000 reach on social media. We'll continue to use various tools to communicate with community members. We've been able to reach over 10 million through our newsletters, paid advertisement, and on community and cultural media. We use surveys as a way to collect input and comments from our community members, taking written comments at various meetings, and also collecting comments through our interactive map that is hosted on our main page. We have also been sending postcards. Up to date here, we've sent over approximately, I would say, 250,000 postcards mailed to corridor properties. And we continue to field questions and answering those through email and responding to phone calls. So this year, we're mainly focused on engaging all communities, and this particularly businesses and property owners, and just kind of starting to get them ready for what's upcoming in terms of fostering those relationships so that we understanding what to expect as this year ends and as we start to get into 2026 and preparing for construction slated to begin in 2027. We've sent out recently mailers to corridor properties and also within a mile radius from the corridor, essentially sharing project information on what to expect this year, continuing to collect contact information, and just keeping the community up to speed with the details. Through that process, we got 350 questions that we've responded to. Typically, we see community members silent when we send out our postcards, but this time around, we've been able to get tons of questions, and the key themes, community members asking about impacts to their properties, community members also wanting to continue to interact with the project so that they'd be in the know of when these impacts are coming up and how to continue to follow project details. Through the process, we are sharing design changes as it relates to 60%. We're also conducting canvassing. So the plan is to reach out to all the property owners along the entire corridor, including businesses, by the June timeframe. And through the process, we have completed Brooklyn Park. So we have reached out to the various property owners in Brooklyn Park and businesses. Our work has then since advanced to Crystal, where we're finishing off the the business canvassing, along with Robbinsdale, anticipating that we'd complete that work in perhaps the next week as we start to move into Minneapolis, where we're anticipating to do the same. Really essentially just bringing all the community members up to speed with project details as it relates to key milestones and 60% design, so that once we're publishing 60% plans, community members would have had a chance to provide their input and collaborate with the project. We're continuing to meet with key property owners And, as it relates to the North Loop, for instance, where we are coordinating with various property owners on the design that would essentially remove traffic off of 10th Avenue. And so coordinating with the various property owners as we need to connect, make some new roadway connections in the area, and resolving some access concerns that have resulted resulting on the design that we're proposing in the area. Design workshops have been very useful and productive for our work, as that's really the opportunity for community members to interact with our design team. They can ask their questions on the spot and get the answers right away. The last round of design workshops that we'd hosted were for the Lowry Avenue station, and we'd seen a lot of community members attending those and providing input that has guided the decision-making process on how that design advanced. And so here, some of the recent events that we've held or we've attended, some of the community organized events as well. And then we have some upcoming events. This is not an exhaustive list of all the events, but just key meetings that we're planning on attending. With that, I will stop and see if there are any questions.
Go ahead, Mayor.
I'm sorry.
Not at all.
But circling back to the 7,170 survey responses, do you recap those? I mean, where could a person read those?
So we sent surveys based on key input we wanted to receive on specific design elements, right? So the responses are analyzed through our team, and we're providing that input to our design and project team so that, that know how what we're hearing from the community. We also have a dashboard on our website that actually lists all of the meetings and the comments that we're getting.
It does list the comments?
That is correct.
Okay. And some of the comments that I've heard from residents, or at least while I was campaigning, was, I feel like the Metro, you have the community engagement sessions, but is anybody listening? I mean, I don't mean to be rude, but that's a perception amongst some people anyway, is that, why bother going? Because what we say doesn't seem to filter. And so that's why I wondered, where are those written survey result comments? Because it might be interesting I'd like to read them, I guess, or some of them anyway, to see what the feeling really is and where people stand in terms of station design and, what amenities they'd like to see in the area.
Chair, Madam Mayor, we've collected tons of survey responses, and obviously, as we work on specific elements that we're collecting input on, we're not making the decisions. Some of the decisions are being made by policymakers. However, would be glad to pull the information and share.
Well, I'm just thinking, when you're coming to Crystal for the council meeting, I guess I would be really interested if any of the survey results, even if maybe you don't even know where they're coming from, maybe they're just anonymous, but if there's Crystal or area specific comments, those would be nice to be able to have for the council to get a better understanding of what our residents, what's important to them, I guess is.
Chair, Mayor, we also coordinating with Crystal staff. We have a monthly meeting where we talk about communications and engagement, where we're sharing project details. We're also sharing some of the input that we're getting from various community members. And we're continuing to collaborate on specific topics that we're bringing to the.
You're probably meeting with John Sutter, and he does a really good job
He does.
sharing with the council, kind of what's going on, but I just would be curious to hear about what the residents say, if you know. So, okay, just something to keep in mind.
I thought would be really cool for the project line to see what people are saying. And a nice, colorful, pretty easy to read report.
By area.
Yeah, color, I like it.
Go ahead, Aaron.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I was just wondering, do you track feedback on the forms of engagement that you're doing? So I know you get a lot of feedback on designs and the project in general, but I would just be curious on what people think of the types of, the forms in which the information is being served to them, whether it's in-person event or mailers. Do you track, feedback on that?
Chair, council member, yes, we do. Our dashboard actually has that information categorized such that folks would be able to see where we've been. There's a map that shows where we have collected input from, and all the details are in there showing where the meeting was held, the type of comments, and that could be pulled by keyword if needed.
Okay, great, thank you.
Any other comments, thoughts? All right, thank you, Nakongo. Pretty impressive numbers. I mean, you've had a lot of conversations, meetings, events, but I love great comments about capturing that data, getting it by area would be really helpful. Yeah, great, thanks. Well, we will save you a little time today. That was our agenda, unless anybody has anything else they'd like to share or ask questions. Our next meeting is July 17th. So thanks for participating today. Stay tuned.
It says July 10th.
It says July 10th.
Oh, that's interesting. I have one note that says the 17th, and I have another note. And on the agenda says the 10th. Which one is it?
17.
For once, I was right, but that doesn't mean that I was right. It means that the agenda was wrong. So, sorry about that. July 17th, you make a note. Anyway, thanks for participating. That siren you heard at 1:45 was a test. There's another one at 6:45, just so everybody knows. You have to pay attention to it. I think it's a weather thing. Anyway, this meeting's adjourned, and have a great weekend.